Okay, so let us start this session. Because of few reasons, we could not had the invited speech in the morning. So instead, now we are going to have it. Uh, it's really my honor and privilege to introduce Professor Kutumba Sastry ji, who is an erudite scholar of Advaita Vedanta, Darshanas, poetics, and Sanskrit literature. So you see the two extreme branches. On the one hand, Advaita Vedanta and Darshana, and on the other hand, poetics and Sanskrit literature. He was the director of Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan, and he took initiatives to make it a deemed university. And now we know it is a central university.
No, this is good. थोड़ा बड़ा करके. This is all right? Okay.
So after the Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan became a deemed university, he was the first vice chancellor of that university. And after that, he was a vice chancellor of Sampurnananda University and also Somanath Sanskrit University at Veeraval in Gujarat.
Good, that will be better. Let me see what it is. Notes will also come. Yeah. Aha.
Remove that. What is that? Mobile? Hard disk. Okay. You want both the views?
How to go next? Enter. Arrow. Okay. No. Good. Only arrow. No. Okay.
So, just give me one more minute. I know it's getting late, but some of the things about our uh, invited speaker, Professor Kutumba Shastriji, I should tell. One important thing is he was award. He had several awards. One of the awards is the President Award, which he got from uh, Pranab Mukherjee, our Rashtrapati ji. And another award was uh, he got Infosys. He was awarded Infosys chair at Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute for 2 years, and during which he worked on a very important topic, which is important from the point of view of discourse analysis, and that is the Tātparya. What is Tātparya? And he looked at various interpretations, various manuscripts, and based on that, he has his book will now come out in soon from Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute on the Tātparya. And today he is going to speak on that. But he didn't stop after that. After retirement, he is very busy, especially with this work on the Tātparya at Bori. And after completing this work, he has now ventured into another one. He got another fellowship from ICPR, and he's again working on a very important work on the Adhikaranas, and again a very difficult text to understand, and there are very few scholars who can work on such texts. And we are very fortunate to have Professor Kutumba Shastri ji here to tell us about what is there in our Indian Shastras. And now I think is the time to know, for all of us to know about the discourse analysis and how we decide how one adhikaran or one text is related to another text, or one paragraph is related to another paragraph, what are the parameters, and we would like to hear these things from you. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. Shri Venkatachalādhīsam Sriyādhyāsita-vakṣasam Srita-cetana mandaram Srinivāsamaham bhaje. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sadasiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. I think I am audible. Okay. At the outset, I express my deep sense of gratitude to the organizers of 7th Conference, International Conference of Sanskrit Computational Linguistics, which is very pioneering and a very new area of developing area of research, especially to Professor Amba Kulkarni Madam, who was always kind enough with me, and also earlier also I spoke once, twice from the platform provided by her in Hyderabad and other places. Today, Tātparya means, in nutshell, there is one crisp Sanskrit sentence, Gatosta Markaha. There are a good number of Sanskrit students here and scholars here who can enjoy this. Now, what is the meaning of it? Sun has set, that's all, nothing else. But it gives okay. So it gives different meanings for different people. For a brahmacharin, it means that it is now time for performing Sandhya Vandana. For a cowherd, it means that now I must make my herd in returning its home. For similarly, there are 10-15 meanings are provided in Kavya Prakasha itself, and now I don't have time to dwell on that. This because Vaktru Bodhavya Kakunam Vakya Vachyanya Sannidhe Prastava Desha Kaladehe Vaividhyat Pratibhajusham. This is what is said. So many components are there. When we come to the question of Tātparya and Vyanjana, ever since I missed first time Ambaji, I was repeatedly telling this. At that time, sometimes machine capabilities must be immensely more. I don't say impossible, but human computer is par excellence. So in any way, I did some work on Tātparya. 4 questions I addressed. What is Tātparya according to various authors? Text-based study only, because we are incapable of going outside the text. We are only just like parrots. Whatever is there in the text, we will only tell that, not going much beyond it, except here and there some touches be given. Secondly, what is Tātparya? Where is Tātparya is needed? Why Tātparya should be accepted? And how to know the Tātparya? This how to know Tātparya is very vast field, with which I think we are more concerned. And in that I am doing today a small presentation. Let us see, let me read as an introduction, Vedas are the most ancient and largest groups of books. Vedas, groups of books, is not right because we consider Veda is only one. It is Veda Vyasa who divided it into four. So, according to Indian tradition, Veda is only one. So, its size is, you can imagine. But anyway, taking the nowadays popular view, largest groups of books held to be impersonal by the faithful in India. Impersonal apaurushaya, with no human origination. They contain hundreds and hundreds of chapters, thousands and thousands of passages and sentences. No exaggeration. Even thousand may be a small word, the sentences number may be in lakhs also. They carry ideas mutually complementary sometimes and sometimes mutually contradictory too. Hundreds and hundreds of rituals are mentioned and described in these texts. The language is evidently very old and archaic because date of Veda is anywhere between 6000 BCE to 10,000 BCE. Therefore, a great question arose as to how to explain them, keeping consistency in mind. Several attempts have been made to address this problem from time immemorial. Content-wise, the Vedas are mainly concerned with two things, rituals and philosophy. Therefore, Indian Shastrakaras addressed themselves with the greater need of evolving a consistent theory and system through which the form of the rituals can be constructed with all the details required by a performer. Thus, a huge system came into existence through sage Jaimini in the name of Purva Mimamsa and continues still giving possible solutions to textual and hermeneutical problems. This has resulted in evolving around 1000 principles of laws or nyayas. Dvividohi vedokto dharma pravritti lakshano nivritti lakshanascha. This is Gita Bhashyam of Shankara Bhagavad-pada. Vedartha is of two types. One is pravritti dharma and the other one is nivritti dharma. The first one is rituals, the second one is philosophy. Similarly, another system came into existence through sage Badarayana Vyasa to evolve a spiritual and philosophical theory through reconciling various seemingly conflicting statements to fall in line with each other or with the central teaching of the texts in the name of Shariraka Mimamsa. This system added around 191 principles, laws or nyayas or principles of discourse as figured out through Amba Madam. Thus, a huge system came into the existence to interpret the Vedic lore. Okay. Thus, the Indian hermeneutical tradition, hermeneutics is the right word or not, I doubt it. Our term is Vakyartha Vicharana. Vakyartha Vicharana is coined by Shankara Bhagavad-pada in one of the Adhikaranas. He says Vakyartha Vicharana or Shastrartha Vicharana, something. Thus, the Indian hermeneutical tradition is as old as and as vast as the Vedas. We will share a few thoughts on a basic set of 6 principles which have been widely used by both the Mimamsakas and the Vedantins. They are invented by the Mimamsakas, as the case is mostly so with regard to the Indian hermeneutics, and elaborately discussed in the 3rd Adhyaya of the Shabara Bhashya, which is also called Angadhyaya. According to Kumarala Bhatta, these are foundational in Purva Mimamsa. These 6 principles are very foundational in Purva Mimamsa. He made an observation that the rest of the Shastra, consisting 9 chapters, depends directly or indirectly upon the conclusions of present third adhyaya. That is the significance of Angadhyaya. It is called Angadhyaya. And I am drawing your attention now today to another great author in Advaita Vedanta, who is considered to be number 2 in the parampara of Acharya parampara of Advaita Vedanta. He is popularly called by Vivaranacharya. Never, his name is not at all known to the junior students, but his name is Prakashatma Yati. Prakashatma Yati, but he is always referred to as Vivaranacharya. So he wrote one Panchapadika Vivaranam. Therefrom, a school in Advaita Vedanta has begun. Before that, there was in existence Bhamati school. So there are two main schools after Shankara Bhagavatpada, two main schools. One is Bhamati line of interpretation and the other one is Vivarana line of interpretation. Both of them are Advaitins, only some subtle differences here and there. Prakashatmayati also says, and this Prakashatmayati also speaks about Shrutyadi. We will be discussing them in detail. Sakala Shastrartha Nyaya Avagatyartha Muchyate. He says, to understand the entire Vedanta Shastra, these 6 principles are analyzed by me here. They are Shruti, Linga, Vakya, Prakarana, Sthana and Samakhya. Mimamsakas have not only evolved these 6 principles, but also 6 Tātparya lingas, Upakrama Upasamharo, Abhyasaha, Apurvata, Phalam, Arthavadaha, Upapattischa. These are also 6. They have some fascination about the number 6. They invented 6 pramanas for Karma Bheda. They invented 6 pramanas for Krama. They invented 6 pramanas for Namadheya. More or less, all their sets of principles carry the number 6. I do not know what kind of fascination Jaimini was having for number 6. We must do some good research and find out peripherally. That's of course, you can forget about the comment. Now, Shankaracharya and Madhvacharya quoted the Jaimini Sutra 3.3.14 and acknowledged the importation of the above principles into their system. That is, Mimamsaka's principles are imported into Vedantin's system. However, my observation, this is my personal observation, Shastra has no sanction and Pandits do not agree. However, the nature, the conception, the application and the result of application in the two systems via Mimamsa and Vedanta appear to differ from each other. Similarly, the Jaimini Sutra quoted above clearly speaks about the weakness of the later principles in respect of earlier ones. It is called Paradaurbalya, theory of Paradaurbalya. Uttarottaram Durbalam. That is Shruti, Linga, Vakya, Prakarana, Sthana, Samakhya. So Linga is weaker than Shruti. Vakya is further weaker than both Linga and Shruti, like that. Though Samakhya is the weakest principle. Weak in the sense, when there is a clash between Shruti and Samakhya, you should go by Shruti, not with Samakhya. That is to decide it. They have Paradaurbalya theory, which is mostly maintained in the Mimamsa system, whereas in the Vedanta, violations of the said theory are significantly more in number. This is how I say these 6 are not the same 6 as Mimamsakas held. Anyway, it is my personal view. To make this point clear, first of all, we may examine the definitions of these principles provided in the respective two systems, and secondly, discuss the reasons for violation of Paradaurbalya theory. The sutra is this. This is Jaimini Sutra 3340. No, I do not know Jaimini Sutra number. It is quoted in Jaimini Sutra 3314. Yes. Shrutilinga 3rd Adhyaya. No, it is Shankara Bhashya reference. Okay, I don't have Mimamsa reference number. Shrutilinga Vakya Prakarana Sthana Samakhyanam Samavaye Paradurbalyam Artha Viprakarshat. Now, coming to quickly, I browsed it because it's a little bit technical one. So let us not deal with it very in detail. Superficially, let us understand. Nirapeksha, there are two, see, all that I want to say is, there are two sets of definitions of the same principle in the Mimamsa tradition. That is, one is apparently appears to be general and applicable in wider perspective. The second one is very technical and applicable only to the Mimamsa particular Shastra and its prayojana and its need. It addresses only the need of Mimamsa. These two sets are evolved by Mimamsakas. Now what Prakashatmayati has done is, he adopted the general one and ignored the technical one, because his job is not rituals, explanation of rituals. His job is to decide about the Brahman, meaning of the passage, meaning of the some terms. We will come to that. So Nirapeksho, everywhere I quoted it, Nirapeksho Ravaha Shrutihi is one definition. It means not very much. It's very weak in its construction, but applies in a very wider area. The sound, the shabda, the word which has no apeksha or which has no any apeksha of any other pramana, that is Shruti. Nirapeksho Ravashruti. Shruti, see, for example, if I say Vrukshaha, the word doesn't have any other apeksha. For a person who, of course, know the Samjna Samjna Sambandha, it has no apeksha of anything more than knowing Samjna Samjna Sambandha, that it is tree. So it is a Shruti. Now you see how they have expanded in technically. Shrutirnama Angatva Ghatakibhuta Paroddesyata Kritikarakatvayoho Anyatarasya Pradhanyena Vachaka Shabda. There are two principles. Angatva Nirnayaka principle. Angatvam is defined in two ways. One is Paroddesyata. Second one is Kriti Karakatva. These two terms, once I explain, but later on I don't do that. Paroddesyata means its uddesya is something else than itself. For example, a servant is there in an office. His uddesya is the manager of the office, but he is a subordinate to him, Anga. So manager is the principal and he is Anga. So para uddeshyata, uddeshyam is something other than itself. Then paroddesyata, that criteria makes the person or the thing or whatever it is an anga, a limb to something else. This is angatva swarupa. Second is kriti karakatva. It should be karaka to a kriti prayatna. For any, it should subordinate as a karaka to a particular action. Once anything that is ghatena jalamanayati. So this pot is anga for bringing the water, because bringing the water is a kriti and pot is a karaka. Without pot we can't bring, of course, we can't bring the water. So Kritikarakatvam is also Angatvam. Wherever you find Paroddesyata or Kritikarakatva, it should naturally be an Anga. It cannot be principle. It cannot be principle, but is only Anga, either in Loka or Veda, in the Laukika Sanskrit or everywhere. This holds good. Even in human relations also, it holds good. Paroddesyata Kritikarakatva. Now, an example, I simply go, there is a lot of discussion in every adhikarana, so much of discussion are there. So, Aindriya Garhapatyam Upatishthate. In Aindriya is one word, there is a Tadhyata Pratyaya, as all of you know. So, Indra Sambandhinya Richa. The Rik is related to Indra. Related to Indra by what way? Praising the Indra. So the Rik is in the form of praise to Indra. Upatisthate, prarthayate, for example. Now, because of Aindriya, Tritiya is Karana, Karana Vibhakti, Upatisthate is Kriya. So what it comes to our mind first is, this Rik, this particular mantra of Indra Devata should be used in the Upasthana. Then whose Upasthana it should be? On the Samarthya, on the capability of the word and Tadhita Pratyaya, the mantra should be used only when you are invoking the god Indra. It results from that. Aindriya Upatisthate. But Shruti says, Aindriya Garhapatyam Upatisthate. This is the Shruti statement. It is a Vedic sentence. You can't alter it. So, Indra Sambandhinya Richa Garhapatyagnim Prarthayate. Though the mantra is devoted to Indra and Indra's invocation, prayer should be addressed to only the Garhapatyagni. There are three Agnis, Garhapatyagni, Ahavniyagni and Dakshinagni. There are three fires. Through the help of three fires, various yajnas are performed. And Garhapatyagni, when you pray to the Garhapatyagni, you should use this Indra Devataka mantra. How we decided it? Now, this mantra, Indra Devataka mantra, is the Anga for Garhapatyagni Prarthana. Now we got it. How we did get it? By its capability, own capability, by its other way, if we say, if it is left to us, we may be using this mantra to invoke the Indra god only, not Garhapatyagni. Aindriya Upatisthate. Because Tritiya is there. But Shruti says, Aindriya Garhapatyam Upatisthate. So, this mantra becomes Anga for Angi of Upasthana, that is prayer, addressed to Garhapatyagni. So, Anga Angi Bhava Nirnaya. This is what is called Angatva Nirnaya and all that. Now, Shrutihi, now Prakashatman, P means Prakashatmayati in Vedanta. P means Prakashatmayati in Vedanta. First two are Mimamsakas. Shrutihi Padantara Nirapekshaha Shabdaha. Padantara Nirapekshaha Shabdaha Shruti. Yaha Shabdaha Padantara Apekshito Nabhavati. Saha Shruti. Now we have to analyze these definitions also in detail. That is the job presently I am engaged in. P's definition is on the lines of that of old Mimamsakas. Nirapekshorava Shabdaha and Padantara Nirapeksha Shabdaha. Just it appears to be a little bit of explanation, but the general one is adopted by Prakashatman and the technical one is dropped because Vedantins do not have any issue of Angangi Bhava Nirnaya. Because there is in Brahmavidya, there is no Anga and Angi. It is only to decide the meaning of the right meaning of a few terms, the Vedanta Shastra goes on. Murari Mishra, who wrote Angatva Nirukti, one small book, Angatva Nirukti, says Nirapeksho Ravaha is the age-old definition of older Mimamsakas. He himself accepts that Nirapeksho Ravaha is Prachina. Prachina Pravadaha. This is his word. Prachina Pravadaha. Now I defined it for as per the need of the Mimamsa, that Shrutirnama, Angatva Gatiki Bhuta, etc., etc., etc. Murari Mishra says, this is according to later Mimamsakas, Navyastu. Oh, this second Lakshana is because of Navyas. Navyas means later. So, what you can draw is, the general definitions, whatever they are, they were the real Prachina definitions, and later on they have they have condensed the area of its application and defined it technically so to suit to Mimamsa. This exercise has been done because of their need only. Nothing. Later Mimamsakas brought in concept of case ending which expresses auxiliarity. Later Mimamsakas also, later in the sense beyond Murari. Some people have added Vachakaha Vibhaktihi Shrutihi. So Trutiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, it should be a case ending according to Navya Mimamsakas. For P, it can be a word. It can be a word. It can be a sentence also, or even a passage, not necessarily to have case ending. So this is the striking dissimilarity between Mimamsa and Prakashatman's definitions. No need to express auxiliarity because he is not concerned with auxiliarity. Precisely for the reason that Prakashatman's definition is non-technical and general, principle Shruti is referred to in the Brahma Sutras by its various synonyms generated from the root Shru, such as Shruti, Shruta, Shravana, etc. Usually, technical terms cannot have an equivalent other term. Usually, guna, adeng gunaha means only guna. You can't replace the paribhasha guna with any other word. As long entire Panini system, guna means avu, a or something. So, but here in Brahma Sutras we have got several synonyms that itself is a proof that it is not technical. It's not paribhashika. Shabda is also used in the same sense directly. In addition to these, the Shruti is referred to by a long list of its equivalent terms, numbering 37 as long as I have observed. They are Vyapadesha, Vyapadishta, Vagaira, Vagaira. Let us skip it. Now, Linga is defined by the Mimamsakas as the competence of words to indicate the auxiliarity. Again, this is a Prachina definition. They have only told competence is the Samarthyam Lingam. However, Samarthyam Lingamiti Pranchaha. Samarthyam Lingamiti Pranchaha. Taduktam Samarthyam Sarvabhavanam Lingamityabhidhiyate. This is Murari Mishra. However, as in the case of Shruti, the later Mimamsakas defined it more technically as Linga is the indicative competence possessed by the existent word to conjecture the expressive word, which in turn convey either one of the two types of auxiliarity, namely intendedness towards something, that is paroddesyata, or being an instrument in accomplishing an action, or kritikarakatva. So, Samarthyam Lingam Mimamsa Nyaya Prakashaha. Tatra Lingam Nama Angatva Ghataki Bhuta Paroddesyata, etc. Blah blah blah. Then Barihir Devasadanam Dami. Barihi Devasadanam Dami. Barihi means a kind of grass. Dami, the verb is used. So, though avakhandane is the root, so it is cutting. Dami means khandanam karomi. Therefore, where should this mantra, it is a mantra, Barihir Devasadanam Dami, this mantra, where should it be used? In the action of cutting the barihi, cutting the kind of grass called barihi. How do we know this anga? Cutting of the grass is the angi, kriya, and anga is this mantra, Barihir Devasadanam Dami. How did we know that? Because Dami, the word do avakhandani itself has got some competency and capability to express its angatva towards cutting the grass. Therefore, this is a linga. Now let me quickly go through. Prakashatman defines linga as linga is the indicative capacity of words which is of the nature of an invariable relation with a distinct meaning. This is added by Prakashatman. An invariable relation with a distinct meaning is added by Brahman is the distinct meaning they want to prove. So any Visheshana or any property that has been spelled out in a sentence which happens to be connected with the Brahman in an invariable relation, that is linga. On that strength of it, they prove that it is the term is Brahmavachaka. Linga, capacity. In short, it is the indicative meaning obtained on the basis of a distinctive characteristic expressed therein. Shruta Samarthyam Arthantarena Avinabhava Lakshanam Lingam. Linga is used about 16 times in the Brahma Sutras, either in support of Siddhanta Paksha or Purva Paksha. Vakya is defined by the Maimamsakas as Samabhivyaharo Vakyam. Again, this is old one, old definition. Samabhivyahara means uttering in a sequence. In its wider perspective, the term Vakya should signify all the sentences of the Veda. Therefore, both Shruti and Linga may also fall under Vakya in some sense or other. Hence, to distinguish the special characteristic of this technical term Vakya, it is explained by them as Vakya is utterance of words in a sequence denoting the principle of auxiliarity without such words being possessed of case endings which signify the auxiliarity directly. Because auxiliarity directly by case endings is a Shruti. So there should not be a Vibhakti to prove the Angatva, but the entire sentence should have a capability to show that it is an Anga to something. Let us go to example, then only these things will be somewhat clear. Angatva, Ghatakibhuta, etc. is the same. Ghatakibhuta, Krutikarakatva, Anyatara Padartha Kalpananukula Srutapada Sannidhi is Bhatta Deepika. Now, one more thing the scholars should note, that in the system of Mimamsa, every later principle, though it may help you to decide the Angatva and sentential meaning and all that, it should create, one minute, English words are sometimes cause problem. That is, it should Kritikartha Anyatar Padartha Kalpananukula. What they say is Vakya should artificially create linga, a sentence with linga, and linga Vakya should again generate a Paurusheya sentence of Shruti, then only the sentential meaning will come. This one has to examine. We have to keep these things in our mind, how the computer will also ask for it. Whether directly Vakya cannot give the meaning of the Angatva, it should create in between Linga and Shruti. Because what I felt is, as a general scholar without any computational background, what I felt is, for Mimamsakas, Shruti is only one pramana. Because it is an alaukika, a relationship between doing a ritual and getting a result. It's not lokasiddha. It's not from any other pramana. We know if we do Jyotishtoma, we will get Swarga. There is no way to know the relation between Jyotishtoma and Swarga except Veda. So therefore, Veda is only in the form of Shabdas, Shruti. So Vakya cannot decide the Angangi Bhava. It should, Shruti only should decide. Therefore, and Shruti is not there, only Vakya is there. So what you should do is, Shruti should, what you call Kalpana, English word. Shruti should imagine, Shruti should imagine not imagine, you have to generate the Linga Vakya, and then you have to generate Shruti Vakya, and then only it will become its Anga. This is some technical system they have, which technical issue has been dispensed with in the Vedanta. That's what I wanted to emphasize. Vedantins are closer to our computational linguistics. Let us see. I hope I am clear. Now example is, Yasya Parnavayi Juhur Bhavati Nasa Papam Slokam Shrunoti. For the Yajamana, for the person who performs the ritual, Juhu means a kind of spoon. Chamasa is also spoon, Juhu is also spoon, through which Drava Padartha is put into the fire. You know, some wooden, they put every day in Tirumala Kalyanam, they put ghee with some wooden spoon. That SVBC channel you can see. That is what is called Juhu. And this juhu should be done by what kind of wood? You see, every particular is to be given by Veda. Ritual means you have no swatantriya at all. Whatever is told in the Veda, you have to follow the same thing. So there are so many woods. Doing juhu is only 2-minute job. No. There are prescriptions for to do with particular wood and all that. There a sentence is there, yasya yajamanasya, for which yajamana, the juhu happens to be parnamayi. Parna is a kind of tree. Parna is a kind of tree. Juhu, which is made of parna wood. If he holds it and if he performs the sacrifice, papam shlokam nashrunoti. For him, there is throughout his entire life, there will not be any detriments of doing anything or any loss of property or progeny or anything. Papam nashrunoti. That's all. That means always he will be happy. That's what this sentence says. Now, parna wood is anga, juhu is angi. This angangi bhava, to decide this angangi bhava, there is no vibhakti. Because tritiya is not there. Yasya parnamayi juhur bhavati. It is only prathama. So there is no vibhakti, case ending. So this is not the case of Shruti. And it is not linga, because linga is mostly by one word. Here it is a sentence. The full sentence has got the capability. Therefore, it is vakya. Yasya parnamayi juhur bhavati nasapapam shrunoti. In the Brahma Sutras, we do not come across any reference to the principle Vakya directly, but we find 3 sutras where a possibility of a reference is felt to some extent. They are Pranadayo Vakya Sheshat, Vakyanvayat and Asadya Padeshat. In all the 3 places cited above, the text which follows the present Vishaya Vakya is referred to by the term Vakya as per the Shankara's commentary. Though explanation of Samhuvyahara may not be very difficult in these cases, yet it is difficult from Mimamsaka's conception of the term Vakya. Let us move. Prakash Atman defines Vakya as the capability of several words. This expects both the denotative meaning Shruti and indicative meaning of the words in deciding the relation of the denotative and indicative meanings of the words given to our knowledge by the primary and secondary powers of words. Aneka pada samarthyam Vakyam. Prakarana. Mimamsakas define the prakarana as mutual expectancy. Ubhayakanksha prakaranam. There are 5 sentences in a sequence, namely Samidho Yajati, which enjoin rituals called prayajas. Samidho Yajati, Tanunupatam Yajati, Ida Yajati, Barihir Yajati. There are 5 Yajati are there. For none of these 5, no result is told by the Veda. So they have got an akanksha of what is my result. If I do Samidhyaga, what is my phala, that is I am going to get. Phala kanksha is there. And see the farce, after some time or before that, there is one sentence, Jyotisto menas, Darsapurnamasabhyam yajeta. Darsapurnamasabhyam Swargakamo yajeta. Darsapurnamasa is prescribed for Swarga phala. For Darsapurnamasa, how to do it has not been spelt out there. Darsapurnamasa is a big activity, but it has got some subordinate activities. Cooking food is only, we say simply cooking food, but it has got several hundreds of actions before actually the food is ready. You know, hundreds of actions. Not even, I am not exaggerating, hundreds of them. So, similarly, in ritual also there are Avantara rituals, they have not been told there. So, it has got some, how should the Darsapurnamasa be done? So, Darsapurnamasabhyam Swargakamo Yajeta sentence has got an akanksha of, which is called Katham Bhava Kanksha. How should it be performed? And Samidho Yajati Tanunupatam Yajati 5 have got Phala Kanksha, what is my result? So, Nashta Asya Dagdharadhanyaya. Now combine both of them. So, this all 5 prayajas are to be treated as limbs of Darsha Purnamasa. Otherwise, how do we know there are 5 limbs of Darsha Purnamasa? This is how Mimamsakas explain the huge mind-boggling size of Vedic sentences into a proper system and evolve the form of the ritual. Even form of the rituals are not straight away told line by line everything in one place. This Vedic literature is a very big problem, I tell you. It is easy to recite, but you enter into that, sooner you enter into it, you are lost. Such a problematic, huge corpus of literature is given to us by whom God knows. Savidho Yajati, etc., which enjoins rituals called prayajas, without mentioning the result of such rituals. Therefore, all these 5 sentences carry expectancy with regard to their result. So, Ubhayakanksha Prakaranam. So, this is Mimamsa. There is another text, namely, there is some Darsapurnamasa Abhyam Swargakama Yujeta, which enjoins the ritual, Darsapurnamasa, and its result is Swarga. But the sentence, it did not say the modus operandi. Therefore, this sentence has got Katham Bhava Kanksha. This arises, therefore arises mutual expectancy. Prakashatman defines Prakarana as the capability of 2 sentences, objects of which are contextual, on the basis of either mutual expectancy or expectancy on the part of any one of the 2 sentences. Anyatarakanksaya, itaretarakanksaya va vakyadvaya samarthyam arabhyadhita vishayam prakaranam. Prakashatman defines Prakarana as the capability of 2 sentences. The principle Prakarana is cited in the Brahma Sutras for about 8 times. In one of these sutras, we find the term Prakrutatva used in another Sutra 2312, the term Adhikara in place of Prakarana. In all these instances, it is found that the word Prakarana is used in a non-technical general sense of context, but not in the technical sense of mutual expectancy. In the Sutra 1-10, Prakaranacha, the text of the Kathopanishad is cited in support of the argument that context belongs to the Brahman and not to the fire or Jiva, which in turn helps to decide the meaning of the word Atta. Atta, Charachara Grahana. There is a devourer is described in the Kathopanishad. Yasya Brahmacha Kshatrancha Ubhe Bhavati Vodanaha Mrityur Yasyopasechanam Kaitha Veda Yatra Saha is the sentence of Kathopanishad, in which devourer is. Who is this devourer? Is it a human person, or is it Vaishwana Agni, or even outside the Agni, or Brahman? This is the dilemma that is to be resolved in the Brahma Sutras, and it is decided in favor of the Brahman. Why? Because Yasya Brahmacha Kshatrancha Ubhe Bhavata Bodhana, the entire human race, Brahmacha Kshatrancha only are the pickups. They stand representative of the entire Jiva Sanghata. Entire Jiva Sanghata is Bhojana for only the Brahman, because a person can eat only a little bit of meat or something, he cannot devour the entire Jiva Loka. Devourer, stated in the text of Kathopanishad. Again in the Sutra Prakaranat, the Mundaka text is cited to prove that the context belongs to Brahman, which in turn helped to decide the meaning of the text of the Mundaka in favor of Brahman. In the instances cited above, the 2 texts or the meaning of the 2 texts are not in mutual expectancy. That is what I am underlining, as in the case of Prayajas and Darsha Purnamasa. Hence, the term Prakarana is used in the Brahma Sutras in a general and non-technical sense. It is precisely because of this difference in its use, synonyms of Prakarana such as Prakrutatva, Adhikara could also have been used. In fact, the term Prakrutatva expresses the desired meaning of the context in a better way, and that is why Shankaracharya repeatedly used the word Prakruta in his Bhashya. The Prakarana of Vedanta and Vedantins may be equated to the technical term of Arabhyadhita in the Mimamsa tradition. Sthana is defined by the Mimamsaka as the placement of the 2 texts in proximity. They divide the sthana into Patasadesya and Anusthana Sadesya. Patasadesya is again divided into Yathasankhya Patha and Sannidhi Patha. Mimamsakas give several examples to illustrate the application of the principle in their texts. Desa Samanyam Sthanam. I am not giving the examples because it will consume time. Prakashatman defines a sthana as a respective relation of two sets of sentences placed in particular order. In principle, this principle expects the cognition of the capability of two sentences which express two sets of different objects in a particular order. Krama sannivishtanam krama sannivishtaih yathakramam sambandha sthanam. Let us browse through. As far as the Brahma Sutras are concerned, this principle sthana has not been used in them. Even though 3 sutras do have sthana word in them, there the meaning of sthana is somewhat different from the sthana which we are discussing. I made a note on that. Let us move. Samakhya is defined as a word rooted in etymological meaning. A spoon is called Hotru Chamasa. This is interesting. A spoon is called Hotru Chamasa. Its name is Hotru Chamasa. Because of the capability of the name itself, the chamasa means again spoon, wooden spoon by which something can be eaten. So, who should eat by this spoon? It is only Hota should eat by that spoon. The other priests should eat the same Purodasha with other spoons than the Hotru Chamasa. Because Hotru Chamasa name itself carries that this particular spoon is Anga for the eating of the priest called Hota. By mere name, it gives Angangi Bhava. This is how they enter into the system, the sentences, and come out with some good results. Following the etymology of the word Hotru, he is obliged to eat by it and not by any other means. In this way, the Hotru Chamasa, which is etymological in its nature, functions as a principle of deciding the auxiliarity of Chamasa to Hotru. We find this principle cited in the Brahma Sutras once, 338, Samjataschet taduktam astitu tadapi. Here a Purvapaksha is made on the basis of Samjna, that the Udgita Vidya of Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya Upanishads should be treated as one and the same. Actually, it is not quoted in Brahma Sutras, we can say, because it is cited only with regard to Purvapaksha. Whether it is Purvapaksha or Siddhanta, it has been used in the Brahma Sutras. That's what we want to express. Prakashatman defines a Samakhya as the capability of a name in establishing a relation between two meanings which have been known from two different sentences. This principle expects all the earlier principles in deciding a meaning. Sambandha pratipadane vakyantara pratipannasya vakyantara pratipannenarthena sambandha nimittam samjna samarthyam samakhya. Okay. Scheme of Prakashatmeti. Except in the case of Shruti, it is capability that acts as the characteristic of being the principle of interpretation. These are some points noteworthy to note. Principle of interpretation is the only, except Shruti, the other 5 do have only capability as one of the characteristics. Capability is defined as, Prakashatman has defined as the state of being related through an invariable relation with a distinct meaning. Avinabhavena sambaddham, we have seen it in defining the linga. If a single word, now you see his scheme, which is very interesting. If a single word possesses such capability, it is linga. If many words put together possess that capability, it is vakya. If it lies in 2 separate sentences consisting several words each, it is prakarana. If it rests with 2 sentences and the 2 sentences establish a relation on the basis of order of the place of objects in both the sentences, yathakrama sambandha, it is a sthana. And if it lies with samjna, capability lies with mere samjna or name, in different chapters or texts, it is Samakhya. So therefore, there is a scheme behind Prakashatman's understanding of these principles. We can see a kind of progression. in the said capability, samarthya, from pada level to vakya, vakya level to vakyadvaya level to vakyadvaya along with respective relation to adhyayadvaya and granthadvaya. This is the distinctive and significant contribution of Prakashatmayati in understanding these principles. Another important contribution of Prakashatman in this regard is his statement that every later principle expects the previous principles in giving rise to the meaning. There is no kalpana, there is no need of generating the non-existence sentence as such in Vedanta, but expectation is there. That's why everything will expect only Shruti, ultimately. Meaning. According to him, this is the reason for the weakness of later principle than previous principles. Naturally, later principle expects the previous one, so it becomes weak and the previous principle happens to be strong. However, Prakashatman has not expressively stated anywhere that every later principle should assume what Kalpana assume. Here I was searching there. Should assume the previous principle as is accepted by the Mimamsakas. This expectation of previous principles is well understandable because Prakashatman's scheme is from Pada level to Mahavakya level, and the expectancy of a Vakya towards Padas and a Mahavakya towards Vakyas is an established fact. In this way, the theory of Paradorbalya is retained by Prakashatmayati following Mimamsakas. Prakashatmayati as well as Shankara Bhagavatpada quote the Jaimini Sutra, as I already told. Striking dissimilarity is the dropping of the component of auxiliarity by Prakashatman. Prakashatman's definitions and definitions of old Mimamsakas are mutually closer. From this important observation of Prakasha with regard to theory of Paradorbalya. No sublation of weaker principle by the stronger principle in peace scheme. Aindriya Garhavityam Upadisthate. In peace, Prakashatman's scheme, it is harmonizing or explaining away of the weaker principle to fall in line with the meaning of the stronger principle. There is no sublation as such, but somewhat it should be made diluted. The meaning of the second sentence is to be diluted, which has to fall in line with the sentence that is held to be stronger. The meaning of the weaker principle is also retained, but modified on the basis of well accepted norms. For that also again norms are there. From the discussion on definitions made so far, two distinctive features of these principles emerge. Firstly, a general and broad-based nature. Secondly, a particular technical and with limited applicability. Mimamsakas adopt the second and the Vedantins the first. Mimamsakas use them for explaining the auxiliarity, whereas Vedantins has criteria to decide the meaning of terms, sentences and passages. Mimamsakas prefer assumption of earlier principle by later principles to essentially to be valid means of knowledge. Such assumption is not contemplated by Vedantins, though Paradorbalya theory is accepted. Violation of Paradorbalya theory is occasional in Mimamsa, whereas it is very common in the Vedanta Shastra. There is a strong case to treat these principles as two sets of principles with identical names based on the conception, definitions and application. But Shankara Bhagavatpada is explicit in saying that there is only one set of principles evolved by the Mimamsakas, that is Linga Bhuyaswadhikarana. Badrayana Sutra 3349. Not only Shankara Bhagavatpada, in Badrayana Sutra itself, Shrutyadi Baliyastvacha Nabadhaha. There is one more sutra, because even Badrayana accepts that these are the Mimamsic principles, but defined in a different way. As a measure of reconciliation, we may say that these six principles are originally principles of hermeneutics. Shrutyartha Nirnayaka Pramanani. Mimamsakas have used them contracting their nature and applicability. Vedantins used them as they are. The reason for such difference in approach is Mimamsakas are concerned with the explanation of karma, whereas Vedantins are concerned with the explanation of Brahman. Karma is a sadhya. and in need of auxiliaries. Karma is in need of auxiliaries, and it is a sadhya, it is not siddha. And Brahman is siddha, and the nature of revelation, on the basis of samajnana of Vedantic passage. The siddha sadhya bheda is there between Purva and Uttara Mimamsa, which has been phalajijnasya bhedacha, Shankara Bhagavad in detail explains under Sutra 111. Mimamsakas have never been explicit in stating that these are determinants of meaning. They never said they are the meaning determinants of meaning. Neither the Vedantins expressly told it. Mimamsakas called them Angatva Nirnayaka Pramanani. Vedantins just called them Shrutyadi Pramanani. Bhatta Someshwara, one Mimamsaka, in the Nyaya Sudha says that Prakarana is a well-known means of understanding both in Veda and Loka. But my opinion is he may be referring to the Prakarana of the set of 14 principles explained by Bhartruhari, Sanyogo Viprayogasya Sahacharyam Virodhita, Artha Prakaranam Lingam, Sabdasyanyasya Sannidhi, Samarthyamauchiti Desha Kalo Yakti Swaradaya. And maybe he is referring to that. We have to examine it. I am not conclusively saying anything. It is only Prakashatmayati in the Advaita tradition and Vyasatirtha in the Dvaita tradition have stated this difference in clear terms. Violations of Paradaurbali Niyama in Vedanta are more in number than observance. Ground for such violations is the support of Tātparya in almost all instances. 6 principles of Tātparya are called Tātparya Lingas. They are Upakramopasamharo, Abhyaso Purvataphalam, Arthavadopavatti Lingam Tātparya Nirnaye. Near unanimity in defining them and application of them. No problem with Mimamsakas and Vedantins with regard to Tātparya Lingas. Again, they are also 6. The 6 number goes on. Upakrama, I showed in which Adhikarana, which Tātparya Nirnayaka Pramana is used, which is not now necessary. Both the sets of principles, now the question is, both Shrutyadi 6 and Upakramadi 6 are used in the Brahma Sutras. Even in the Sutra also they are mentioned. Why? If both of them are Tātparya Nirnayakas, why? So there is a very interesting one. I think I should not take much time. So I will not elaborate on that, but I made some points. They are not mutually exclusive. They depend on each other. Because deciding the meaning of a word or sentence depends upon the strength of Tātparya. And Tātparya in turn depends upon the appearance of Shrutyadi principles in the beginning and the end of the passage. What is Upakramopasamhara? One and the same word is in the beginning of a text and in the end of the text. Suppose Brahman, the word, the second valli of Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Vidapnoti Param. It starts with the Brahma word in the beginning, and in the last sentence also again Brahman word is there. So Upakrama and Upasamhara, the Brahman word is there. So the entire context in between belongs to the Brahman. This is what is called Tātparya, Upakrama Upasamhara, Tātparya Nirnayaka. But how this Upakrama? But in Upakrama, there must be a Shabda, there must be a word denoting a particular object in the beginning and the end. That is Shruti. So Tātparya Lingas do depend upon Shrutyadi Lingas. Similarly, to decide the strength and weakness of Shrutyadi Lingas, Tātparya is the driving force. So there is a kind of interrelation between these two 6 and 6 principles, altogether 12 principles. Because deciding the meaning of a word or sentence depends upon the strength of Tātparya. And Tātparya in turn depends upon the appearance of Shrutyadi principles in the beginning and end of a passage. Abhyasa means a repeated appearance. There are 6. Therefore, Badarayana relied on both the sets of principles. Anyonyashraya dosha comes. Technically it is asked. See, no question has been left out in our text. What I feel is, sincerely, we need not do any Purvaksha, even for the sake of, even God is there existent or not, even Nastika, Astika, everything, they have been thoroughly discussed in our Sastric books only. It is our mistake that we did not read them and again going on doing our own mental exercise to prove or disprove. They are written there. Only we don't have patience to go through the complete Shastric lore. One Akashadhikarana I picked up. Shall I take 5 minutes? Little more. Here itself? Okay. Now I will put up in my words this Akash, or otherwise I read it. 3 slides are there. Akashadhikarana is one. Asya lokasya kagatiriti is the question asked by the student. The teacher replied, Akasha iti hovacha. Asya lokasya kagatihi akasha. Now what is the meaning of Akasha? What comes to your mind immediately? Akasha means the space that comes to our foremind, and in which from boyhood, I mean every commoner also is using Akasha word in the same sense. So it is a prasiddhi, rudhi is there, and also it is in the beginning of the text, first sentence. Akasha is in the beginning of the word. Beginning has got some more strength. That is, it is called asanjata virodhi nyaya. See, the first word carries greater strength than the second word. Because when the first word is uttered or born, his rival is not born. So when first child is born, he is very strong in all families. The reason is, when he is born, he or she is born, the second child is not born. The second child is always weaker in all families, because by the time the second child is born, the one is already in existence. It is called asanjata virodhi nyaya. These are several thousands of these nyayas apart from adhikaran nyayas are there in our texts. Sometimes they are even laukika nyayas also. So in both the ways, Akasha, what should be the meaning of Akasha? Space. But now it has been decided Akasha Stallingat. In this particular Adhikarana, Brahma Sutra, Badarayana Maharshi has decided that Akasha, by the word Akasha, it is only the supreme ultimate reality which is called Brahman is the meaning of Akasha word. How he derived it? Tallingat. Lingas are there for it. What are the lingas? Just for a moment you see. Sarvani hava imani bhutani akashadeva samutpadyante akasham prati astamyanti akasho hyevaibhyo jyayan akashah parayanam. 4 sentences are there. All the things in the world, whatever it is, wherever it is, in Chaturdasha Bhuvanas, they are born from out of Akasha. They all get what you call devolved in the pralaya. They leena, they go into again back into the Brahman, and Akasha is the biggest of all because he is giving birth to all the things including Akasha. And then he is the Parayanam, he is the ultimate goal of reach. Now these 4 lingas cannot be applicable to Akasha. Though to some extent Akasha is also a bigger one, because firstborn is Akasha. If you go to Taittiriya Upanishad, Tasmadva etasmad atmana Akasha sambhutaha Akashad vayuhu vayoragnihi agneraapaha adhyah prithvi prithvibhyonnam annam. First God has provided food, then only he created the jivas. See the compassion of the God. According to our belief, first Anna is produced and then person is produced. Because after giving birth, how he will sustain himself. Okay, now this Akasha is also a bigger one, but tasmad atmana Akasha sambhuta. Now in this Adhikarana, let us conclude. Linga has become more powerful and greatly carried greater strength than actual Shruti. Akasha is Shruti. but Shrutyartha is diluted. This is the magic of Vedanta Shastra, which is not the case in Mimamsa. Usually they don't allow this to happen. Only Vedantins have, because we are concerned with the meaning. Therefore, because in all the objects of the entire universe getting originated and getting involuted into the one entity, that entity cannot be the Bhutakasha, that entity cannot be the space what we see, but it can be something more than ultimate reality. So it is the Brahman, it is decided. Linga has got Upapatti is the Tātparya Nirnayaka Pramana. On the support of Upapatti, Linga has become strengthier and Shruti has become weaker, and this Akasha word denotes only the Brahman. This is subject. Thank you all.
So much thoughts you have given, so much material you have given us for thought. I don't know what to say now, but what I have observed is this Prakashatmayati. He has given a very good step-by-step procedure to
Recording
do
in
the
progress.
discourse analysis. And so we start with the sentences, then we combine the two sentences, and then we go to the paragraphs and all that. So that is something which is really very useful from the discourse analysis point of view, I see. And we need to discuss these further in detail to understand how we can use these pramanas, these two sets of 6 pramanas for discourse analysis. And we will be troubling you again and again in order to understand this. But what the thing which I will take back is, rather than Mimamsakas, I would like to go with the Vedantis, because Vedantis are more into the meaning part of it. And this is what we also need. So maybe we will go for those 119 pramanas given by the Vedantis. And thank you very much for...
Actually, I am working on that 191 Adhikaranas as briefed by Prakashatma Yati has brought out the logical framework behind each Adhikarana into Shariraka Nyaya Sangraha, a book written by him. I am translating and annotating and with exposition for ICPR National Fellowship.
So that will be really very
And I
useful.
need help of all the scholars available here at various points, more so help of Ambaji at that time.
So we will definitely like to read those things and see how those are useful for computational purpose as well, because I see the potential there. So thank you very much, and sorry you had to wait for a long time for this.